Welcome to the APS Open Book Podcast, Episode 6, Extended School Year. I'm Mark Goodrum, your host, and our guests today are Katarina Sandoval from the Public Education Department. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Jonathan Saiz, principal at Governor Bent Elementary School. We brought you in on the summer break, right?
Yes, happy to be here.
Thanks so much. And I'll tell you, the most important job of being a mom 24/7, you don't get any time off. Angelica Medina,
Yes.
thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you don't, moms don't get any sick leave or you can't call for a sub or anything. So we appreciate you coming in. We're talking about the extended school year, and we have some schools, about 8, Katarina, that if my mind serves me correctly, are coming and starting in July. Is that right?
That's correct. It really depends on how a district wants to use their extended learning time program. So many districts across our state are deciding to use the 10 extra days before school starts for a jump start program, for example. There are a handful that are picking up some Saturdays throughout the year.
Oh, wow.
And some that are actually going to do it in June 2020 to extend the school year at the end of the school year. But most are going to start either in very early August or late July.
I see. Okay. All right. So take us back a little bit to how we got to this point. Because I wasn't following as close. I just saw it on the media.
Yeah, the Extended Learning Time program is a brand new program for the state this year. I'm really excited to be working on that program with my team. And really, it's meant to do precisely what you said just a while ago, Mark, which is extend the school year, in this case, by 10 days. And it's very flexible. Mm-hmm. So districts opt in. We have about 90,000 students who have been identified by districts to say, yes, for example, APS wants to participate. These are the schools that want to participate in this program. These are the days we want to do it. And this is how we plan to use those 10 days. So it's very exciting to see how the flexibility of the program meets the innovative, creative ideas that superintendents and principals have. So for example, many of our secondary schools, middle and high schools, are using their 10 days to do a jumpstart program or a bridge program. So it's 10 days where they're saying, we're only going to have our 9th graders come before the older kids get here. Right. And it's an opportunity to kind of explain to them, this is how high school operates. This is what it means to be a high schooler. They do a lot of fun bonding times. It could be a ropes course. It's part of the 10 days, depending on how they want to do it. Okay. So this is a trend I've seen across the state from the secondary schools who want to do it. And they're doing something similar for the incoming 6th graders or the middle schoolers. So it really depends on the district and how they plan to use it. Your question about how did we get here is a great one that I'm happy to speak to. So our state has a lot of data about how well our students are doing. We know that New Mexico, being one of the poorest states in our country, it's no surprise to many people that our children tend to be at the bottom of the list in terms of child welfare and how well our children are doing. It's hard when you're growing up poor, right? Yeah. But that's not to say that our schools can't help address that if they have the right resources. And the Extended Learning Time program is one of those. So part of our data shows longitudinally that our schools are doing their job, meaning if you take a student, an average New Mexico student, and you put them in an average New Mexico school over 1 year's time, they grow about 1 year's worth of academic learning, which is what we'd expect. That's on average. Right. The challenge is that because we're a high poverty state and we don't have universal pre-K and early childhood, most of our students across the state, when they come to kindergarten, are already almost 2 years behind. So we're always in this catch-up game, always trying to close that gap. And one intervention that we know works across the country, because we've seen other states do it, is pre-K. Right. So if we are able to offer pre-K, which is something that our governor cares very deeply about, that our secretary cares deeply about. We know that is a huge return on investment.
Sure.
Simultaneously, extending the school year is kind of an extension of that. So pre-K addresses the little ones coming up, but what about our students who are already in school?
Absolutely.
So this extended learning time program, K5 Plus, is another program that extends the year even longer, is a way to really build those bridges for our children who we know are already 2 years behind.
You mentioned about the Jump Start. I was at Grant Middle School, and we had Jump Start, the elementary schools coming up to the middle school and so forth, like you said, going up to the high school. I could see right off the bat that just getting them, the children, used to the environment that one day and getting them used to what was going on was a huge factor in getting them off on the right start. So what do you think, Jonathan, about that? First of all, do you have the Jump Start at Governor Bent?
We do not.
Okay. And do you think that this would be something that your elementary school could line up with and go with at some point?
Absolutely. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for our students and our families, specifically our students, to be able to have a jump start into the academic year. And what's nice about the initiative is that the students would stay with the teacher all year long. It's a little different than the K-5 initiative, but I'm a huge advocate of the additional jump start 10 days.
Right. The 8 schools that we're looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong now, the principals and the staff all came together and said, we want to take these 10 days and apply them a certain way. You guys approved it? Is that how it worked?
That's correct. So in our case, the superintendent has to apply on behalf of their district. So I think that most superintendents, even at APS, our largest district, are working closely with their principals, their associate superintendents to do precisely that. But the teachers get compensated for the additional time. That's where the money comes from the state, so the district can pay for those additional costs. They have operational costs, right? You've got to pay for the lights, the cooling system, all of that is provided through this program.
Could I, as a school, apply those days within the calendar? In other words, instead of breaking them up, putting them 2 hours a day or within the class time frame?
That's a great question, Mark. For this school year, there is some flexibility, but when it comes to the 10 extra days, that's a standard minimum requirement. So a district has to show 10 additional full days for next school year over this past school year. How they and when they incorporate those days are flexible. As I mentioned previously, some districts are picking those up on a Saturday. Others are doing it in June, but they do need the 10 extra days.
You know, before we turned on the mics, I was joking with Angelica about being a mom and a parent, and you have the most important job, you know, with the children. You know, being a mom, can you see this working with parents, yourself particular, but across the state? Vacations, my schedule. How do you feel about that?
Personally, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
We just as a family, we usually don't take our vacations in the summer due to my fiance's work schedule. But I mean, overall, I'm for it. I think it's a step in the right direction. You know, putting our kids first. And I know that some parents were opposed to it because of vacation schedules and things like that.
Right.
But in reality, 10 days, it goes by so quickly. And, you know, I don't think that it adds much onto the school year or much interruption into the summer. My my two children did go to a school last year where I'm sorry, the year before last, where it was regular schedule.
Right.
And then we moved and we switched districts, and so now they attend a school that's year round. And my daughter, who's going to be in 5th grade this year, will actually be starting in 2 weeks. And last year it was like this huge adjustment, just saying the dates in my head. But I think that overall it worked out really well, and they enjoyed it. I did ask them this morning before I left the house how they felt about having 10 more days on the school calendar.
Yeah, great question.
So my kids were there, and also my nephew. And at first they were like, "Oh my God, no, we don't want 10 extra days." And I told them the reasons behind it. Just trying to catch up, kind of with the rest of the nation as far as education goes. And my son was like, that's a really great idea. And so he was like, and 10 days isn't going to make a difference to me.
Right.
And really, I don't think that, my kids are younger, but I don't think that they really notice unless they're absolutely looking at the calendar and counting
Sure.
down,
That leads me to, you stirred a thought in my head, Jonathan. I was reading your bio, and I loved what you said about all children can learn. And I'm on board with that. I totally understand that. But we got to get them there. And what do you think about if we put the time on the calendar, but we have some children in the state that are just having a difficult time getting there? What do you think?
With the K-5 Plus program, it's a volunteer, if you want to attend or not. The nice thing about the additional 10 days is that students are required to be there. And it's ran like a regular school year. With specifically attendance, it's about supporting the families, because we can give every type of initiative to the student, but we have to support the families to support the child. And it's about partnering with the families early on, providing a tiered system on supporting the families.
Right.
And so students who are not coming to school, how to support the family to get the student here, what barriers they may have. And as Kata noted, that we have a very high poverty in our state. And it's about supporting our families and how to educate our families on the importance on getting their child to school. If it happens to be the rituals, routines that are needed at home, what do we do to support the family?
Right. Yeah, making that connection to the family is, I would imagine, the start. And then that child will head this way.
Absolutely.
To the school. And we did a couple of episodes back on fine arts, and a big part of that conversation was the children coming to school, these other activities for orchestra, chorus, drama, and the various different things, as well as, of course, the core classes. So now that we have some of these schools lined up, Kata, with this year and some getting on board next year, what's the next step?
Well, for this summer, I'm really excited about doing site visits at different schools throughout the state. We really want to learn from our schools and our districts, because they are really taking this opportunity to tailor it to meet the needs of their families and their communities. So because most of our state is rural, for example, a lot of our rural districts are using this time to do project-based learning with fish and wildlife, for example.
Great.
Cobre is an example of a district that already has a partnership with Fish and Wildlife.
Great.
So their 10 days is going to be outside, working with
absolutely.
them, having kids run experiments. There's other districts that are going to be doing camping or be out in the wilderness in their own communities. So for us at the PED, it's really exciting
Sure.
to be out there and to learn from each other, share that information, so that all of our districts, large, urban, small, rural, can get a sense of, wow, okay, that's a great way. Because you're right, Mark. At the end of the day, we need to really stir the imagination
Sure. Yeah.
of our families so that they see the 10 extra days not as just 10 more of the same, but it could be something very different. And the beginning of the school year, for those of us who work in schools, it's a great opportunity to set culture, to really set norms and expectations, to make it inviting, and really hook the student and the family into school to be a really invigorating, exciting place to be. And so that's what I love about this program, is that it allows schools that opportunity to do those kind of culture building, team building activities that have a very different feel than once you get into the school year, where you really do need to do some of those hardcore academics that our children need and deserve.
Yeah, I can see the sky's the limit on that during the summer. Even if you could bring the families in and going out, whether it be fishing or different activities that the families also can participate in. That's great. Now, you mentioned earlier about the teachers. As we know, there are teachers that have second jobs, other areas that they need to be involved in for their income. How does that work?
That's a great question, and I think that through both K-5 Plus, which is an additional 25 days, or the Extended Learning Program, which is just 10 days, teachers have an opportunity to actually augment their income at a professional rate. So in some ways, I think it might be really enticing to teachers to participate in the program if they are looking for some extra income. This would be above and beyond their base salary. So I think that's a definite positive for our teachers, honoring them as professionals. But also the flexibilities of the programs allows for those teachers who say, I need the summer to just decompress.
Right.
I need the summer to take some family time or go visit friends in a different state. That's okay too. But we hope at PED that through our preschool initiative, I think everybody knows at this point, our governor is going to set up an early childhood department, which is really exciting to do this work, and we'll do that in collaboration with the new secretary and the new department. But really to give more time to schools to work with their students and families so that we're not always in this position of trying to play catch up, but we're moving them forward at accelerated rates to be beyond where we are, and we're really excited about that. We look for more schools participating next summer. There were a lot of superintendents who said, wow, we're really interested in doing our 10-day program. We just don't have enough time. It was a quick turnaround between when the legislative session ended and when budgets were due, and superintendents still had to talk to their teacher unions. So we anticipate next summer even more participation.
Yeah, you stole my next question there, because I think you all remember it hitting the media, and it wasn't really, at least with APS, it wasn't a really large time frame there for people to react and chew on it a little bit. So if I'm hearing you correctly, there will be another opportunity for next year to present again and add on to these districts as well, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And we're hoping that to showcase and share throughout the year after this summer, if other superintendents get to see your next door neighbors are doing this, this really interesting program with their 10 days. We're encouraging districts, especially small rural ones, to collaborate if they can across district lines, if that's at all possible. So yeah, we're looking forward to it, and there'll be a round 2 for sure.
Angelica, you were talking about your children, and do you think they're open now and excited maybe for next year at the different schools? You were talking about your son going to one of the middle schools.
I think that they are open to it. They always get a little bit nervous going
Changes
into the new year.
Yeah.
And my 6th grader, he is nervous about going into 6th grade, but he was also really excited about the different programs that they have there he signed up to be in band, and the band came over to his school and did a presentation, and he couldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Yeah. It's important to make, in all of these podcasts we've talked about through APS, you can't deny the connection, making that connection with the students, whether it be math or band or what have you. But I want to talk about reality in a way here in New Mexico, Jonathan. I mean, we have families that are struggling, and do you think one of the I threw this out on Facebook, this question, and one of the questions that came up, I mean, do you think the parents in New Mexico are willing to do what they want to do, to move the children's learning forward and better? What has been your experience, at least at Governor Bent?
Every parent who brings their child to the school, every parent I've encountered wants the best for their child.
Right.
And they want a better life for their child than they had. I had an opportunity to have my student teaching in Mora, New Mexico, and going to college in Las Vegas, and being here in Albuquerque. And my sampling of the families has been, I want the best for my child.
Right.
The piece of, we know the best way to bring people better is through education. And so if we can have the students for additional 10 more days, however that may look, it's best for the kids and best for the families. I was watching the news the other day, and it broke my heart when I heard that students, there's some fear that students are not going to be fed for the summer. And what are we going to do? Because they don't have that school breakfast and lunch. And so the county and the city are pulling together to be able to provide free lunches for students. But it's a safe place for students. And you mentioned a piece earlier. It's about relationships with kids, relationships with families, and knowing that school's a safe place for them.
Right.
And not only is it a safe place for them on the social emotional side, but also for the academic side.
Right.
So absolutely, parents want the best for their child.
My wife and I, we have 2 children, and we always tell them, we don't want them to be another me, want them to be a better me.
Absolutely.
And I think that goes across the state, across the country. That's what we strive for and live for our children. And not only a better me, but someone that is going to make this whole state and country a better place, and it benefits all of us, i.e. the preschool. I mean, if we can get them started. And I was one of those kids when you mentioned, Kata, about starting in behind. I was one of those kids in Massachusetts, and with help with teachers and family members, was able to make a difference. I want to ask you also, came in my mind, was so what's the magic about 10 days? Why not 20 days? Add another 50 on there, Now your kids would really have fun. Like that.
That's a great question. If we could add more days, I think we would. Part of it is just budgetary constraints.
Right.
So is the legislative session and bodies were coming together to put together our state budget. There were just some constraints around that. That's part of it. The other part is, sometimes you have to start slow before you can really move fast, and 10 days seemed just enough where folks felt like it was doable, that they could convince some of their teachers and staff, I can do it 10 extra days versus 25 days as in
Not
the K-5 Plus
overwhelming.
program. Not overwhelming.
Yeah.
People still have some time to decompress over the summer and be with family and loved ones. So we're starting with 10 days, and it's going to be really great to see the impact it has on participation, attendance, relationship building. I mean, some of those are hard to measure.
Sure.
But we look forward just to hearing from our schools how it went and what they learned.
Yeah, that was the data coming back. How are you going to collect that? How will you disseminate that to the public? Or how's that going to work?
So part of it is districts will report on which students participated in the program through STARS. It's a mechanism that they're all very familiar with. So it's a very easy collection data, like these are the students who participated during these 10 days. And here's the attendance on those 10 days. So we'll have hard data about just attendance. For example, a school may have thought, we're going to have 500 students participate in the program, but the reality is maybe only a third of them came or a half. That would be very telling for both us and the school about maybe what was it about the 10 days or the program, or what can we learn from your communities and families about why they didn't necessarily come. So that kind of data will be telling. And so that's where we're starting, because our main goal right now is more time in schools to help mitigate some of the summer learning loss you've probably heard about that does tend to occur. Number one. Number two, really just getting students and families excited about next school year, getting them ready, prepped, and on board sooner versus than later. So that's our main goal. And then over time, we think that more time at school plus more resources, wraparound services, it has to be a holistic approach to better servicing our students and our schools so that they can provide that for our children and their families. That, I think, in the long run is going to be where we see the better and improved results that we want for all of our schools.
And I imagine, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe we won't see this really a clear data for another year or two when we look back and saying, okay, this worked, this didn't work, let's tweak it. But the most important thing is getting the parents on board to buy into this around the state.
Absolutely.
Now, and while everyone was talking, as a parent, you're connected to your children. You know what's happening in the schools. We can tell that you're very involved, Angelica. But as a parent around the state, I'm trying to make things work in my family. Where can I go to get this information? And in my local school, the principal, who do I talk to find out, can my child get into this program, or is it working? I don't know, as a parent.
So on the APS website, the district has the schools that are participating in the additional 5 day, additional 10 days.
Right.
And surveys were sent out to families
Right.
a few days after we learned that we had an opportunity to apply for the grant. And the turnaround was very quick due to budgetary initiatives. But now that the ball's rolling and the word is out, I'm sure that more families will be asking for the
More
program.
questions. Yeah. And there'll be more dialogue going out to the media and public
Absolutely.
as it goes forward.
Absolutely. And there'll be some good research and some testimonials on how the program is working.
Do you anticipate, what are the drawbacks? I mean, do we anticipate, attendance being low? Is there any way to get an idea of how this may fly?
That's a great question.
I mean, you can tell me the next week's lottery ticket too, by the way, but I'm just curious, is there any way to?
Yeah, I'm not sure about drawbacks. I think it might come in the form of lessons learned, like in the previous example I gave, where maybe there is a school, a principal or district that anticipated a lot more attendance than what they actually got, which would be just sort of an indicator of how can we dig deep a little bit into the reason why and really spend that time with families and communities to learn what happened. Maybe it was they didn't know about it enough
Right.
in time, or they had already made previous arrangements for something else. But it's an opportunity to learn more about that and prepare for the next time around. I'm just really excited to see how our schools and our districts and principals really use this as an opportunity to tailor it to meet the needs of their families and communities.
Yeah.
I just like to add, I did go on on APS website and pulled up a whole lot of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
But I was really excited because I know that, like you mentioned earlier, that meeting the needs of the community, meeting the needs of the family. And so by doing the lunch programs and the breakfast programs through APS, I did see on the website that that is going to be included with the 10 days.
Right.
And I think that's a huge positive for the
Right.
program, because there are so many parents and families struggling in our communities that, this is a
Absolutely.
way to make sure that your child's getting
Getting some nutrition.
something.
That's
Mhm.
right, yeah.
And if I may add, teachers have a considerable amount of material to cover in a short amount of time. I
Right.
remember myself as a classroom teacher saying, if I just had a little extra time with this student, if I had additional day. And so what an opportunity, a very progressive way to look at education and adding those extra 10 days into the school year, because it gives the teachers the opportunity to have that time to give that extra support to those students and get to expand on a lesson that they've always wanted to expand on. It's a great initiative. It's a very progressive way to look at education.
Yeah, go ahead.
And to that point, there are many districts, in addition to using those 10 days to do a Jumpstart program, which usually is only the first 2 or 3 days, right?
Right,
Kind of
right.
get them there, get them on board and excited. But then the rest of the time is really what you described, which is how do we kind of see where they're at, see where they have gaps in where they should be in their learning, and then using that time to really expand upon it, give them the support that they need.
Right.
So I'm really excited about how this program is going to meet the needs of some of our most vulnerable students, to give them those extra supports and tailored supports. And schools are being really thoughtful about how they're organizing around giving those extra supports to those students.
And on that note, that's so important, because if you're just starting in those 10 days and help me clean up the room and put the books on the shelf kind of thing, and as a principal and going into the schools, teachers, it has to be some meat to all of these 10 days, right?
Absolutely. And what I envision, if we do receive the initiative at my school, Governor Bent,
Right.
this is the way we do business. It's like a regular school year. It's 10 additional days that are placed into the school to be able to support your students. Really to support your students to everyday supports.
Yeah, have some substance.
Absolutely.
But like you said, I mean, the Jump Start, don't get me wrong, is great. I was all on board on that when it came around. But it was filled with, let's find out where the bathrooms are, and here are the rules, blah, blah, blah. But now, once you have those 10 days in there, if you can get them into the classroom, but which stirs another thought. We're coming to the end here, but I do want to ask this question. Those 10 days, as a teacher, I need to prep for those 10 days. So I've got to get in earlier than those 10 days. How's that play into it? You follow what I'm saying?
I absolutely understand. Following. So I believe that it's going to be a shift. But
And don't get me wrong, I know the teachers come in early. I did myself all the time to get the classroom ready to go. But it also moves the scale earlier, earlier in the summer. So you got to get ready for that. Those 10.
so teachers are always working
Right. Yeah.
365 days. And teachers are spending their summers planning and prepping and recovering.
Yeah.
And so they're ready to go when day one starts. And just the day one starts a little sooner than
Right.
usual.
Yeah.
And again, this is a very progressive way of looking at education. And it's an opportunity to have students into the classroom 10 days earlier. And what an opportunity. I would have loved to have my students
Right.
in the classroom 10 days earlier, or 10 days even more. But I can tell you that I think it's a good initiative for our families
Yeah, I
and for our
think,
teachers.
yeah, I think this is a great conversation to have, because, and let's be real here, there's a battle to sell this. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes at the PED. I mean, isn't it true? I mean, because, you have to battle with me as a teacher, you know, some of the teachers for the time, but also the parents' vacation and so forth. So I can see the idea of rolling this out and testing the waters as it goes, but also letting everybody, I'll use the catchphrase, the stakeholders, to all have a part in trying to shape this. I'm getting the feeling that it is shapeable. It's not something that's stone. It has to be rigid this way, correct?
That's right. And so part of the rollout, because it is new, because of all of the, things you just mentioned in terms of folks' vacation, teachers, whether or not they want to work that additional time, we said, okay, it's voluntary. It's for, you can opt in or out, number one. Number two, if you decide to opt in, it's really meant to be shapeable, malleable for your community. And so that, I think, is the beauty of the program, because then you saw a lot of interest say, let me think about that. And it was just so refreshing to hear from superintendents say, I've been thinking, superintendents have been thinking, big ideas too about things they'd love to do for their districts. But the way the economy has been in our state for the last several years, it's been so difficult to even do the basics. So they've been really excited to say, I really want to try this for my district. This sounds like this program would be perfect for trying that. I said, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's what's really exciting about it. And I'm hopeful that is this summer, superintendents who try it, and they talk to each other.
Sure.
They'll hear and see how the program rolls out. And I'm hopeful that it will entice all the other superintendents to join next summer.
I really get the feeling it's a great time for education in New Mexico. That's my take.
I agree. It has been many years. I've been in the business for about 13 to 15 years, and it's always been cuts into education. And so this is the first time in the schools we go, we can do something different. We can do something that is outside of the box. We can actually stand on that box and say, let's do something different. And I appreciate the driving force of the public education department to say, what can we do differently to support our students and families?
Yeah, absolutely. A great time for a parent, right?
Yes.
We wish your kids great luck for the upcoming year, your children in school. And it is a good time for education, I think, and better things are on its way.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want to share with the group?
I just want to thank you and my fellow guests on the show. It's great to talk about this program and to really talk about how education is different. We have this amazing opportunity as a state collectively to move the needle in a positive direction for our students and families, to be creative, innovative, and bold all at the same time.
Right on.
So it's going to be a heavy lift. It's going to require everybody from superintendents, legislators, to parents to say, yes, we want the best for our students. We know it's going to be like anything, right? It takes hard work, it takes discipline, it takes imagination, but I know we can do it, and really excited about doing it together.
All my 33 years of teaching, one thing through Grant, Manzano, all the different schools I was at, everybody wanted the best for the children. Now, we may have argued on what that looked like, but we want the best for the children of New Mexico.
Absolutely.
And now, with some money flowing and some blood going through the veins, we'll have those arguments. That's cool. But it's starting to move in the right direction. I want to thank you all so much. It was a great morning to share and get motivated about the new school. You go back tomorrow, Governor Bent?
K5 plus, yes.
K5 plus.
Yes,
There
K5
you
plus.
go. Yeah. So hit the ground running. So,
I will. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see our students.
All right. Well, thank you so much all for coming. We sure do appreciate it. I want to thank APS Media Office for giving us this opportunity for the podcast. Kevin Otero, our producer, his great work that he does every month for us. And KANW, of course, providing the studio and all the expertise. And most importantly, we want to thank the listeners and the viewers tuning into this episode. Come back next month. We'll have another one for the APS Open Book Podcast. And always remember, always keep smiling.
This podcast is produced by Albuquerque Public Schools and KANW Public Radio. Special thanks to KANW Program Director Kevin Otero. Stay tuned for more meaningful conversation in the months ahead.